Hey guys, good morning. Happy Thursday. Creator Mom here, Sheena. So I wanted to talk about fact or fiction, right? So yesterday I was on a hike with my kids, and they were on bikes, so they were in front of me. It's a very path that's very flat, um, and actually is a very special. I was reading after the fact, a very special preserve, a nature preserve that was owned by, I think it's called the Divine Sisters, like some type of nunnery or whatever. And there's a big Catholic church retreat center there. It's very big. They have tons of land. Well, anyways, they owned, back in the early 1900s, they owned all this land, beautiful. And they said their job was to kind of be like guardian or take care of it. Not guardian, I meant to say another word, but kind of like beekeeper over all this land, and to make sure that nobody developed on this land. Very special because I don't know if they realized it was special because of all the wetlands on it too, but I think that they knew maybe there was something special about it. I don't know. Well, anyways, long story short, the county conservation district was able to purchase this land, whatever. So now it's like a preserve, and has wetlands, all this stuff. Ironically too, it's like right by train tracks. Well, not right by, like it's way bigger than that, but there is train tracks like that kind of along the boundary. Okay, enough of that. So yeah, it's a really special wetland, and they use it for a lot of like observations and shit like that. So yeah, we went there, and they have a little trail, and it's very flat, and it's nice. And we went there in the winter, and I love going on trails in the winter because it's like it's not so mysterious or like scary, if you will, in the winter, because you can see through everything. You can see everything, and that's one thing I love about hiking in the winter. But as the spring comes and the summer, everything gets all green and big and bushy, and you can't see anything. All you can see is the path in front of you. You don't have the privilege of viewing the whole landscape of the woods, and knowing what's ahead and knowing what's over there. So it's like has a way more like mysterious vibe to it, in my opinion, if you will. Well, anyways, so we had been there in the winter, so now we're taking a walk there, and in the spring. And like I said, it's all green now, and you're not able to see through much of anything. But anyways, I was observing how enchanted and how beautiful the woods seem. But I wasn't telling my kids on this because they were ahead of me on their bikes, and I was behind with the dog. And I was saying to myself, wow, like I stopped on the bridge and I said, wow, this place is just so beautiful. Like there's something very like magical and enchanted looking about it. And I think this about a lot of different random spots that I encounter, and that's why I like filming parts of nature. If I come across like a little stream of water that just seems very enchanted, very magical looking, I like to capture it. I like to take a picture or whatever. So anyways, so yeah, I stopped to think like how the trees, how it's all flat, and there's a beautiful bedding on the ground, like a ground cover of greenery, like not just grass, like beautiful little plants with pretty little leaves and stuff like that. And how there's like such a nice space between all the trees. Like it's not all crowded, and the trees aren't gigantic. They're like very like medium sized, and they're evenly spaced. So it's like very like enchanted looking. Like you just want to, like it draws you in. Like you just want to walk in there and like just feel it and discover it all, kind of like get off the trail a little bit, and I often feel like that when I'm walking through any parts of woods. I'm like, wow, I want to go over there. Like it seems really nice and beautiful in that spot. I don't know, it just feels very magical. So I think a lot of people feel like this about the woods and stuff. But I think fear also holds me back personally, because I don't really go on to explore. I just like, wow, that's really magical. Like, but I'm kind of like the person who tends to kind of like stay on the trail and not really veer off, because I don't really, just for fear of like, getting lost or whatever. It's really just fear that kind of holds holds me back in general. But anyways, let me get to my point. So anyways, all this is going on interpersonally within me. So we're walking along, and all of a sudden we get to this one point. I catch up with one of my kids, and then we're just standing there, and then my other kid comes walking back. I guess he was just a few feet ahead, and he got off his bike and he walked back towards us, and but at this point in time, like, the train was going through, and it was very hard to hear, and he was like trying to tell me something. He was like, "Oh, come over here, I want to show you something." He was saying. I was like, "Okay." Like, I just thought, oh, he just wants to show me something. So we walk over, and I'm like, "Oh, what is it, you know?" And he's like, "Oh, I saw something. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we go over to the spot where he says he saw something, and he was like, "I saw something right there." He said, "I saw a face behind." There was like this pole. I don't know what these like 3-foot poles are for in these woods. I don't know. It must have to do with whatever they do in this preserve. So he's like, he said it looked like it was about the size of this pole or whatever. Like, he saw it like way beyond in this little patch of like bushes and stuff. And he's like, "I saw a face." He's like, "It looked like a human face, and it was bald, like it had no hair essentially, and it was like about that tall or whatever." But he said he could only see the face. But in that moment, he was very convinced of what he had seen, And I thought, oh, wow, that's very interesting. Well, I have a very curious mind, and I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to be quick to be like, "Oh, God, that was just your imagination." But I was like, well, obviously it wasn't a deer, right? Because what deer like. We know what animals look like. Like, he's of the age where if he sees an animal, he's not going to think it's a person. Like, he clearly said, like, it had a human face. But what's interesting is just the thing of, like, when we have these experiences, or when other people say they have these experiences, we're quick, even as parents, to want to say, "Well, okay, well, let's think about this for a second. Well, are you tired? Were you feeling anxious?" Like, we are quick our brains want to rationalize what we think we saw. And then by the end of the day, I think even the child themselves start to rationalize what they saw and think, "Oh, it was just my imagination. Oh, it was probably just nothing." Because that's and then by the end of the day, all the doubt makes what you experience just go away. Like, it becomes nothing because you rationalize it away. So, but I mean, I tried not to do that, but I also had, wanted to ask questions because I was curious, and about, what he saw. And obviously what he saw scared him, it startled him. So he ran right back towards me, like, "Oh man, no shit." Like, it scared him. It freaked him out. And nobody else was on the trail but us. I mean, that we could see. There was no other cars parked there. Nobody was there. So it's not like there was other people there, and like maybe it was a little kid, or something. But my conclusion basically is, whether he saw something otherworldly, because, children are innocent, and from what I've heard about encounters with these otherworldly creatures, if you want to call them that, like elves, dwarves, gnomes, and they have all kinds of names from all parts of the country, all parts of the world or whatever, is that I don't think that they allow you to see them unless they want you to see them. Or maybe you can see them if you're able to see them and they don't know that you're looking at them, or something like that too. I don't know. I was reading some stuff online, and I feel bad for people who have seen things like this, because nobody believes them and they're seen as crazy, so because they feel like they have to justify themselves, like, "I wasn't on drugs, I wasn't this, and I wasn't that, and I have a PhD, and I'm an engineer, and I experienced this." We have to like justify when we see things in, maybe of the spirit world or whatever the hell, because most people are very carnal minded, and that's it. Most people are just very carnal minded, and so, I guess the bottom line is whether it was a figment of his imagination, or it was actually a real otherworldly creature that that revealed itself to my kid and then quickly went off, because I think that they're known to do that too. Like, they can appear and just disappear, just go right off, it's okay. Either way, it's okay. It's all good. So, he doesn't have to discount something he thinks that he saw. He was convinced in the moment that that is what he saw. But then I guess after my questioning, maybe he began to doubt. And I wasn't questioning to make him doubt. I was just questioning more out of curiosity. And I did ask just curious, just out of curiosity. I'm not discounting your experience. I totally believe that you saw what you saw, but I'm just curious, before you saw this, were you feeling anxious or afraid or anything like that? And he said, well, I guess I felt a little bit anxious because we were on the trail and he was up, he was first or whatever, since he was on the bike and he's quicker on the bike. So, but he wasn't way ahead. I don't want nobody thinking that my kid was all the way, where it's a very small trail. And then if we go, yodelay hee hoo, they can, we can hear each other. A fairly short trail either. It wouldn't take nothing more but somebody 15 minutes to speed walk through. But anyways, yeah. He said, but it was interesting. He said it was bald, but I think it was so quick that he wasn't really able to gather a lot of other observations. But yeah, me and my friend were talking about it. It's when we're tired, we can hallucinate and we can think we see things. When we're driving, you ever been tired driving at night? Oh, it is crazy what the trees look like. You think you see things and you're oh, whoa. You're oh shit, that was, whoa, I was hallucinating for a minute, But then we realized, in those moments, though, we realized that we didn't see what we saw because, I don't know, we have the awareness that we were tired or whatever. We were kind of hallucinating because we were so tired. But when he saw it, he got frightened and came back. He was, he was afraid a bit. He was he got nervous. Oh shit, what was that? I don't think he was tired. I don't think he was tired. But fact or fiction, right? Who knows? Only he knows what he saw, and only he will ever know. And I want to not doubt him, but I was just asking questions to gather information because I'm a very curious person. And then I started reading all about it and finding videos for myself, on my own, because that stuff really intrigues me. Oh, and then shortly after that, we came across this little fort-looking thing, but it was very small-looking. And the way that the trees, I'll probably link a video that I took to this video, but it was the way the branches, it did kind of look like how people show you how to build forts in the woods. It's kind of has this you start by a tree and you put one stick diagonally down and then you lay other sticks on the side. If you've ever built forts or whatever, know what I'm talking about, but you lay the sticks on there kind of straight, but the way that this was, it was all bundled together, very curly and intertwined looking little homes. So we're walking along and we're almost to the end of the trail, and look at this. Although somebody could have came and built this,
I don't know, that's too small to fit a
but
human.
Yeah, and it's very intertwined looking. Look at that. That's very interesting.
If you look at it really hard,
Kind of cool.